having watched, kind of grown up in the '80s. You mentioned the Giants. Just remember watching a lot of NFC East football. It's kind of a general question, but what was it like covering the NFC East with the Titans of Parcells and Gibbs and Tom Landry and just that whole group? It was just kind of a big game every week, it seemed like.
Well, Tom Landry was at the end of his superpowers, basically in the late '80s. They were a somewhat competitive team, but many years they were well behind Philadelphia and Washington and the Giants. So, and obviously the bottom fell out after Landry left, and Jimmy's first year in 1989, they were 1-15. But I always felt, Parcells told me one time, I was covering the Giants, and I asked him a question about why does the NFC East team get so far every year? Why have they won the Super Bowl X number of times and gotten deep into the playoffs? He goes, because it's like you get calloused every year playing in this division. Your toughest games, in many cases, are your division games. And you go out of division or out of conference and you say, man, that was pretty easy. Or that wasn't what a division game is. And so I think that's part of it. But I also think the other part that was interesting is that the head coaches just wanted to rip each other's throats out. I mean, Parcells, it isn't that he hated Joe Gibbs, but they absolutely were not friendly. Now they've gotten friendly since they quit. But I'll tell you, if you ever saw the end of a Washington Giants game and you saw the handshake at midfield between Gibbs and Parcells, Gibbs very often would give him that little limp wrist wet fish handshake or dead fish handshake, where he basically touches his hand and then he's gone. And one of the reasons is Gibbs, I wouldn't say he's a poor loser, but Gibbs was not a good loser. Parcells was not a good loser. Buddy Ryan was a bad loser. And so you had all these guys, they wanted to kill each other. And I think that was reflected, and they all had, especially Washington and the Giants, had really, really good personnel departments that in the time of George Young and Bobby Beathard, they were really getting good players to sort of buttress the stars that they had. So, I mean, I enjoyed it